In this video, I'll be sharing with you the 5 things that I wish I knew before I started backpacking. But if you're new to the channel, hi, my name is Wes, and welcome to Backpacking Central, where we're all about hiking, backpacking, camping, survival, and more. Let's get into it. Starting with number 1 is a good pair of hiking shoes. These are just some regular weatherproof, waterproof, medium to high top hiking shoes. These are crucial on the trail, for stepping in mud, slipping and stuff like that. The first time I went backpacking, I actually wore a low top, lower, old pair that I didn't mind getting, dirty or wet or anything like that. Just tennis shoes. I actually stepped in a puddle and ended up having to, hike the rest of the hike, in soggy, wet, tennis shoes. Now I had an extra pair of socks that I could change and dry and air out, once I got to camp. But these were, would have been very useful if I had brought some better hiking shoes. All right, number 2 on the list would be any kind of camp shoe, whether that's, some lightweight, cheapo, flip-flops, just any, small flip-flop. They don't take up much space, they're not very heavy. You can strap them to the outside of your pack or whatever. These I did not bring, which would have been very helpful, stepping in the puddle, because, I could wear these instead of walking in barefoot or, something else like that. These would be much more comfortable than, the wet, tennis shoes I had, or, hiking boots, all sweaty. This allows your feet to air out. They're way more comfortable, and I should have brought these. Moving on to number 3, a water bladder versus a water bottle. So this is what I brought. It's a 3-liter Platypus, water bladder. You have this, you feed it through the pack, over your shoulder, and you could just, sip this, anytime you want, not skipping a beat. Now, I'm not sure if I bring this in my next one. I had 2 other water bottles, but what this allows you to do is hydrate, which is good. But if you're low on water or can't get water very easily on the trail at the end or in the middle or, anywhere, this may not be the best option, because it doesn't allow you to stop and take a break and, get your water bottle out. This, allows you to drink more water, which, may be a good thing, maybe not. But this, I actually ended up it running dry a little bit over halfway through the trip, or through the hike to get to camp, which, obviously is not ideal. I had 2 other water bottles to still drink, I could fill up when I got there, but this may not be the next thing, or the same thing I bring on my next backpacking trip. Moving on to number 4 is a extra water bottle cap. This, I think, is very overlooked. It's very simple. You take, whatever water bottles you've thrown away or recycled or whatever, you take the tops off and you put them in a bag and keep them. You can put a couple of these, they weigh nothing. It's tiny. You can put them in a little Ziploc bag. You can take 2 or 3 of them. I actually ended up losing mine. I had 2 water bottles. They're both the same water bottle, and I was filtering my water in the little creek that they had, and I had set this down on a log, next to me on the creek. And I look back, I don't know if I hit it off or the wind or whatever, water came up, and it wasn't there. And I didn't have one of these, so one of my 2 water bottles, and I had the bladder, but one of my 2 water bottles was just completely useless. So this is a very overlooked, tiny little detail that is very simple for you to add into your pack before you go hiking. All right, and my number 5 is going to be focused on pack weight. When I went backpacking for my first time, I wasn't necessarily thinking or going for a goal weight, but it ended up being over 30 pounds. Now with water, drinking the water, and with food, any kind of food you bring, obviously it's going to get lighter as you go. But then when you fill back up the water, and trying it on, it's not that heavy, sitting there, moving around. But once you're in 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, however far you end up going, then it starts really wearing on your shoulders and your back, and it gets heavier. So I would say, and for me and for anyone else, is to focus on pack weight. Now it doesn't have to be 10 pounds, doesn't have to be some ultra lightweight 10-pound base weight pack, but maybe 20, 25, and that'll be a lot better than 33.5 or whatever mine was to start with. So that would be something that I would tell you for my tip that I wish I knew before I started. All right, and my bonus tip, number 6, would be test your equipment before you go out on a hike. This is the very popular hammock. This is a double nest. I'm sure some of you are familiar with. If not, you can go check out the link below. But this is just the hammock. It actually requires straps, some sort of, it doesn't have to be, it can be any kind of, hammock straps that wrap around the tree that the hammock hooks onto at each end. I actually had someone in the group when we went backpacking, he didn't bring these. I don't know if he didn't know, he never opened it, never tested it, but he didn't have any straps. So and he didn't have a tent, and no one else had any extra. So he didn't have any straps to hook up the hammock to. He did end up, he had paracord, and I had some too that I could have shared with him. But he ended up wrapping paracord around the tree, 10 times, and hooking the ends of the hammock directly to the tree pretty much, which is not ideal for the height, the height and angle and whatever of the hammock for a comfortable night's sleep. So I'm sure he wasn't as comfortable. So my bonus tip is test your equipment, whether that's a hammock or a tent or a backpack even. Maybe it's has some pressure point after a couple miles. So go out on the trail, take the pack with you, load it with some weight. You don't have to load it up to the brim like you would, but take it on a couple miles where you can turn around and come back or do a loop or something. That way, when you're going on your backpack trip and you're 15 miles in, you got no choice but to come 15 miles out. Let's say 5 miles in, you can't deal with it anymore. You got to turn around. Being able to test your gear before you go out is crucial. For safety, for security, for overall happiness, and overall just enjoying the trip more when you know how your gear is, whether you like it or not and stuff like that. So there are my 5 things that I wish I knew before I started backpacking. Peace.